This is a little test video to see what this would look like to take a look at my craft room or my sewing room to possibly show this on YouTube at some point. So here's the doorway where we come in. That's a closet and we don't want to look in there. Over here is basically where I keep most of my things. And first I'm going to pan across, then I'm going to come down, and I store all my projects over here, all the old magazines that I have, my fabric. Come in a little closer here and basically see if I can get close enough to see my little markers. Each project I put a little tag on it. The boxes on the bottom along this shelf are my floss storage for my DMC, and then a couple of excess things up on top. Those are projects I haven't started yet. Up on top is just extra things. There's some fabric up there and some old sewing notions from when I used to sew. Then we'll come down, and to this shelf I have a little storage thing there. My needles, a lot of old sewing things are in there. There's some metallic threads that was given to me. And then as we move across, my duster that doesn't get used very often. Then as we move across, my other containers. See, I've got one there marked completed charts, my Japanese garden, and on over where I keep the floss for each project, and the name is on each one. That's a bunch of Charles Craft Aida. And then as we move down, there are more projects, and there is a tote with fabric in it. And then on the bottom, some extra containers, more magazines, and that big plastic box is filled with books and magazines. Then if we go to the right here, I have a couple of bulletin boards. One is a magnetic board where I put my needle minders and any kind of postcards or business cards or whatever that I have from any place where I've ordered. On the cork board, this is where I have the information about all the floss that is pulled for all my projects. For instance, if you look here, this is my tulip project, and I have all the floss marked down so that if I'm looking to pull floss for another project, I just come over here and look on my cork board, and it shows me which ones I have out and where they are. And then I can look to see, do I need to buy more of those, or do I have enough? And then I'm going to back up now. We have a window over there. This starts the messy part. This is my craft table, and it's always full of stuff. I have a basket over there that I keep some things in, a clock, a small lamp, just a bunch of stuff. There's a lamp in the corner that's way old. Thing probably dates back to the 70s, well, maybe 80s. Don't use it very often. Then right next to my table I have kind of a rolling storage unit that has drawers, and a friend gave me this with all of her old cross-stitch stuff, and it is filled with hoops and Q-snap and all kinds of stuff like that. Then this old desk right behind that is just a catch-all for frames, pillow forms, extra plastic, the extra arms for my lap frame. And then to the right of that we'll pan over. My sewing machine is here, plus a bunch of extra stuff. I will come over here and lift the lid here, and this is my sewing machine. It's a Husqvarna, Viking Husqvarna. I don't use all the fancy stitches. It's probably much more sewing machine than I needed. But the one that I had before this, I had had since the late 60s, and it was not working so well anymore. And it was one that they used to sell door to door, and I couldn't find anybody that would work on it. When my mother-in-law passed away, she left me enough money that I went and spent a couple $1,000s on a sewing machine. Way more than I needed, but I got carried away. Then I have a filing cabinet over here, and that just doesn't have anything cross-stitch in it. It's all old files, personal financial files that I don't have to get into very often, but they're there if I need them. Then I have an old chair here that I switch back and forth between my craft table and the sewing machine. I wanted to show you my button collection, if I can get up here to where it's not too... My aunt, her and I shared the same birthday, February 25th, but about 39 years apart, and she collected buttons, and she went to button shows, and she won awards for her button collections. And when she passed away, this was the collection that she had told her daughter that she wanted me to have. And so that is my button collection. And then from when I was sewing clothing and stuff all the time, this was my thread rack, and some of this thread dates back maybe even to the 50s, because I think some of this was my mother's. I keep telling myself I should probably go through here and start throwing away the really old ones because the thread might break now anyways. But for the time being, I'm still hanging on to it. I did go on there the other day and throw away all of the old metal bobbins from my old sewing machine. So that is pretty much my craft room. We are back over to the doorway, and so I will end this. Bye.